Welcome back once again to the Lone Star Meeple Podcast. To my right, as always, we have the Red Meeple, Alex.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
To my left, we have the Green Meeple, Michael.
Hey guys, how you doing?
And myself, the Blue Meeple, Sean. We are the Lone Star Meeple Podcast.
Back together again?
Back together again. Shh,
Hey, he's in 3D. He's in 3D now, not 2D.
I know, right? He's not like on the screen.
Well, when the screen worked. A little
We can reach out and touch him, even though we shouldn't.
But huzzah for Texas opening back up.
I need an adult. Yeah, Texas is open-ish.
Open-ish.
Which is good, because now I get a haircut, because this is getting a little out of control.
Yeah, it's on my list as well.
That's
I think
why
it's
I
on
have
all
this.
our lists.
This started as a fun way just to annoy Leslie, and now every day it's just like, did you fix your face yet? No, I did not.
Shave that goatee off.
It's so how have you guys been? I know you miss me horribly.
We miss, like, the game group. Yeah, absolutely. We were talking the other day that we need to get the people back together to play games, but everyone has reasons that they can't. You have a sick father-in-law, an elderly father-in-law at the house that you're worried about. Eric has his girlfriend's a nurse to elderly people.
Yeah,
and
well, Eric is also kind of elderly himself, so.
Yes.
Yeah, so hopefully game groups will open back up. But we have been doing our best to play games around the house. We played Pandemic Legacy. Alex and I played Pandemic Legacy with our girlfriends.
We're planning on playing Rise of Queensdale next. It has a little plunger, so you can pick up the tiles. I think that is an amazing little...
The whole map is hex shapes, so it's going to be changing them as you go. You're going to... The hex tiles are embedded into, like, pressure. They're held in by their own pressure.
Okay.
So you use a little plunger to pull individual ones out, because you can't get a fingernail or anything in there. You actually have to use the plunger, pull it out, put a new one in as you change it through the legacy.
I thought that was really cool.
That actually is kind of interesting.
Right?
Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah, I haven't played any board games, and like it was fun. I think I texted you guys because I got a Kickstarter in the mail, and I was like, you know what? Sending somebody a Kickstarter in the middle of a quarantine, that's just cruel. That's a horrible thing to do to somebody.
Yeah, we've been playing online on Steam. So there was a Humble Bundle, which if you don't know what that is, you pay what you want, and you get a bunch of games really cheap, and it goes to charity.
Yeah, so this is the first time I did it, and you had 3 tiers. Like, the first tier was pay like $1, and you get
like
3 and 4
yeah,
games.
something like that.
And then you could pay $8 and something cents, and you get 6 or 7 games. Or you pay $12 is the maximum minimum amount. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then you get like a whole handful of games into Splendor and all the expansions.
And it was actually a really good deal. So if that's still going on by the time you hear this, I suggest you do that, and it's a great way to play online with your friends while being quarantined.
Did you kind of like bail on the Tabletopia idea?
Board Game Arena I've played quite a bit, and now Steam just seems a little bit better.
It knows the rules. It gives you the resources when you play a card, and so it's actually an app. It's not just pieces on a board the way Tabletopia is or Tabletop Simulator. We've also did a few games of Heroes of Blackreach. It's a great 2-player little war game where you were the Space Marines and I was the orcs.
It's not Warhammer.
It's Warhammer 40K,
but it's mini-list mini games.
Yeah,
it uses just cardboard.
I was going to say Space Marines and orcs. That's hands down. That's
it uses. But it uses tiles. The really cool thing is you have like a command tile where you can do upgrades. So it's just like Warhammer where it gives you 500 points. And each unit is worth X number of points and comes with X number of units. So I found it really fun. I hope that company makes the rest of the armies. Because right now it's just Space Marines and Orcs.
Who put that out?
War Pigs, I believe.
Yeah, so like you have your dashboard that's off the gaming area that says, all right, the sergeant has a machine gun, but these 2 tankers, they have armored shields, and this guy has a grenade. But the figure on the board is just another square tile that just has the same art as the dashboard. So as you're moving this single tile around the board, you just look at the dashboard to remember what he has.
So I need to correct myself. It's published by Yellow and Devil Pig Games.
Devil Pig.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I've been whooping his ass.
I've
been whooping his butt.
his Heine, his Tuchus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't played like any board games. Well, I lie. I'm sorry. I've been playing a lot of Old Maid with my 6-year-old.
Old Maid.
That's about as far as I've gotten with like physical, like tabletop or any kind of like card gaming has been Old Maid with my 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's as far. Other than that, it's been video games. Like I know Alex is gonna give me the biggest stink eye when I say this, but I've been playing Fallout 76 a lot more. The Wastelanders DLC added in NPCs, a whole new quest lines. It made it a little bit more like actual Fallout as opposed to before just being a walking simulator.
Virtually walked. All right.
I've also I bought Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild like 3 or 4 years ago, probably present at one point in time, right after it came out. And I've always been wanting to play it. I've always loved the Zelda games, but finally I was like, you know what? I'm going to get it. And I've been playing the crap out of that.
Yeah, I almost bought a Switch just for that. It's like, I'm getting kind of bored of the stuff I have.
I bought a Switch just for that, and I still haven't played it. I played Shadows of Mordor 2, The Shadows of War.
Yeah.
That is such a great storyline. If you're a Tolkien fan, playing that game in the world of Mordor and how it connects to the actual books and the storyline is so great. I wish, in my heart, Talion is a canon character.
Yeah, I haven't finished that one. I played through the first one. I haven't finished the second one yet.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I've also been doing a lot of League of Legends, just because
Time.
time.
I've reconnected playing board games with my family. My parents and my older brother live in Massachusetts. My little brother lives in New York. And we've been playing a lot over Zoom. And we've been doing some of the ones I think we talked about last time, Codenames and Just One. I bought Welcome To so we could play that. I was able to set up a Wits and Wagers game with them. And that one was unique to set up because I had to have like 4 cameras in my room, one on me, a couple on the board, showing the scores and everything. I'd read the questions, and they would all think of their answers, and I'd write them down and put them out, and then I would take their bets, and I would do all the work for the board game at my house, but they were able to watch it and play at home. So that was a lot of fun.
Interesting. Yeah, I got the Final Fantasy VII remake. I don't know. I haven't finished it yet.
I have that. I beat like the first big spider boss and kind of just put it down. I'm like,
That's kind of where I am. Like I'm playing it now, like because Leslie's always wants to watch me play it because she's really into it. But like the more I play it, I'm like, like it's just, I don't know, man. Like it's Final Fantasy, but it's not, and it just, I don't know. It's almost like Final Fantasy VII, but with less fun. Because it's just, it feels like a lot of filler. That's what it feels. That's the problem. It's like you get some really cool story points and some really good stuff, and then it's just 2.5 hours of nonsensical filler, go fetch missions.
It's weird because it's such an iconic game. Like that game, I remember being in high school, and we used to do this like Channel 1 News, where they would show that commercial all the time, and I would look at it and they'd show like that scene where they show the whole city, and Final Fantasy would come out, and I'd think to myself, graphics will never be better than that. That is the best graphics will ever be forever.
That was my thought on Super Mario 64. And they had the 3D world, and you're like, oh my god, this is so cool. Jump into the paintings, and they wave.
I can do backflips.
The graphics are so cool.
Yeah, that was good. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I still haven't, like, I know it's not that much fun because I don't have that much of a desire to play it. Whereas the original Final Fantasy, like, I was, like, not showing up to class. Like, I'd be, like, sitting, like, in my apartment in college, and guess what?
That explains a lot.
Ain't going to class. I went eventually.
I played one of the Final Fantasies all the way through, and I cannot even tell you which one. It was so long ago. It was
my
one
favorite...
I picked up in high school, and I just played it all the way through, but I was like, meh.
You don't remember, like, one of the character names, do you?
I have no idea.
My favorite has always been Final Fantasy Tactics, The War of the Lions.
Really?
That is such a good game.
Like, it was good. It wasn't...
It's by far my favorite Final Fantasy. The storyline is great. Everything about that game. I've beat it like 5 times already. I beat it like the Nintendo, the Game Boy. I have it on my phone and I beat it. I love that game.
I was always 7's my favorite out of all of them, but 3, 7, 9 is a really good one too. That was the one with Vivi when they kind of went back to more like the old school style. Yeah, that was good. And then there was a game I've been playing that's actually surprisingly a lot of fun. It's called Shantae Half Genie Hero. Mm-hmm. It's just a really cartoony, like, platformer kind of jumping game. Like, jump on this, but, like, you unlock things as you go, and you get more powerful. The story's kind of campy and hokey, but it was a lot of fun. It's like one of those Xbox Live, like, arcade games from back when, but a lot of fun. So, Shantae Half Genie Hero. Good game. Lots of fun.
That's great.
Two thumbs up from Sean.
2 thumbs up from Sean. That's right. For all that's worth.
Something else we've been working on over Zoom, and we're going to enter a contest. So if you're interested in entering a contest, designing a new game, Button Shy Games is having a contest. We'll put the link to it in the show notes. But they want you to create an 18-card legacy game. We've been working on that, finalizing the rules and some of the mechanics. We're not going to tell you what we're doing. If you want to beat us, enter your own game.
It's all about coronavirus. That's our game.
No, it's not.
No, it's
damn! I need to go rewrite the rules then.
God damn.
That's not what we discussed.
All right. I got to fix the story now again. Killing me, Smalls.
Yeah, it's been
been fun.
You know, I love designing games, so that's been a lot of fun. And even if we don't win, we're gonna put it up on our page so you can download it and try it on your own.
Yeah, like I do like coming up with like storyline stuff. Like I like designing games, and like, but every now and again I get. Like, you realize this, because I have a little bit of a hard time getting out of my own way when it comes to games. I'll start coming up with a million ideas. I'm like, oh, we could do this. And then before you know it, there's a million mechanics and rules. And it's cool, but it's just...
Too much.
It's a lot. It's too much. And that's what I did with this one at first. I was kind of like, oh, yeah, we could do this. And you're like, trust me, you've been behind a couple of days because you've kind of been, MIA. But we're kind of past all that. But I definitely like the creative aspect of it, of like writing the story and everything. Like,
I like the mechanic aspect of it. Getting everything to work together and fit the theme. I think themes should fit their mechanics.
Yeah, like
Absolutely.
the other game I designed, the one that you played. Like every character in the game has a backstory. Every boss has a backstory.
You mean Resident Evil?
It's ish. It's not Resident.
Adjacent.
It is. Yes, Resident Evil. Adjacent.
Time Stories Resident Evil edition.
Resident Evil adjacent. I think that's accurate. But like OG Exploring the Mansion Resident Evil, not like the one that you say that you think is a horrible game that I still make you play. It's more like time attack mode, but whatever. In any case, yes, but like everyone has like a backstory, and I really put a lot of thought into like building out the world and stuff like that. I just really enjoy.
And
like,
there's
just
nothing
creatively
world building is part of the fun. I mean, I love world building.
So I've also been helping playtest an expansion for the Ninja Turtle game that I got. So
Secret.
I can't tell much about it, but I can tell a little bit about it.
There's ninjas and there's turtles. Have a good night, folks.
They're going to do the mutables.
And there's a certain man who is a bat.
No, that's a different game.
Oh, that's a different game?
Different game.
Oh.
Same system, different game. But a lot of the mutants that are in the comics make a mutant animal
Like
coalition,
Toka and Razor?
clan kind of thing. Yes, but they're not going to be in the expansion, I don't believe. But I know Mondo's going to be in there, and a couple other characters that are been on the advertisements already. But working on some new mechanics, some new cards for the games, and so it's been fun playing. And after I set up the Zoom thing for the Wits and Wagers, like, oh, I got this. So I hosted a game with someone from Japan and Georgia and another friend from Austin. And we had like 5 cameras in Austin, 2 in Japan, and a couple in Georgia. And we played over Zoom. Pete Walsh, the designer of the game, jumped in at the end of it, helped us with some rules, and then talked to us for several hours afterwards about where his plan for the game is going to be. So that was really exciting being able to talk to him.
You hear that, folks? Lone Star Meeple going global.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
All right.
other than that, I mean, we were kind of talking the other day about like, because you mentioned like the expansion for Ninja Turtles, just like other games that can kind of do with how to rephrase it, a little bit more love.
The games that we love that other people don't love for some reason. They're
wrong.
Of course. We need to give
Resident
them-
Evil 2. What? I'm sorry. What was that?
Said you're wrong.
It's the Rona again. I'm
You're
sorry.
wrong.
Damn it.
But we talked about like games that we found and it just might have been like a diamond in the rough, some not very many people heard of, or games that have just been around for a little bit longer, now they've been looked over. So it looks like we each came up with 3 games that we'd like to talk about that we really enjoy the game, and it's a good game. It just didn't get the attention it needed. It didn't get the press, or it just got overlooked by another game that came out at the same time.
Or maybe we just don't know anybody else that has it.
That's very possible. We do have a small circle.
Do we though? We have
Nah,
Austin.
It's pretty big.
Austin.
We're global.
Well, all right. To be fair, we're part of a really big circle, being in Austin. Our personal circle tends to be small. Like, we'll go to a convention where there's like thousands of people, yet somehow we all wind up gaming with the same people that hang out here on a Friday night.
You say that
Because
like
those
it's a
are the
bad
best
thing.
people.
Exactly. I didn't say it was a bad thing.
The people we play with are the best people.
Yeah. Duh.
So if you want to be the best people, find us and play with us.
All right.
And the most modest, as you can.
Sean, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So, one of the ones that I said, now this game recently, well, not recently, it was a couple years ago, got an expansion, is Jamaica. So, real quick, in case you don't know, Jamaica is a pirate-themed game in which you are racing around the island of Jamaica to try to be, the best pirate or whatever the case is, picking up gold and
cannons and
goods
and
stuff
blowing
like
each
that.
other up while
Kind of
having
racing
fun.
around, grabbing treasures. So really fun game. You roll a couple of dice, and you play a card, and based on the values of the dice and the card you play is what your action is. Everyone has the same deck, so there's no hidden does he have this special?
It's all
thing?
Symmetrical.
Yeah, it's all symmetrical. They came out with an expansion called The Crew a couple years ago, which was pretty cool. So now when you go to ports, you can recruit crew members that take up spots in your inventory. So now you can't get resources, but now you get some other special ability, from the crew member. So that was pretty cool. But I haven't seen a lot. You don't hear about that game a lot. And it's every time I bring it out, it's a lot of fun. It plays up to I think 8 people. So it's great for groups. It's really easy to teach, really easy to play. And it's one of those things that I really think can use a little bit more. And I was mentioning maybe other game modes, like a battle mode or just another expansion. I didn't really think about what, honestly. But it's one of those things that...
It's just a game you'd like to see on the table more often.
Yeah, it's a game I'd like to see on the table more often. And I think, coming out with another, small expansion, even if it's like a map extension or different treasures or alternative cards or just something to kind of, spice it up a little bit to kind of get it out a little bit more.
Yeah, I played that with you once. I remember when we first met at the game store.
Otherwise
at the
known
meetup.
as the best day of his life.
Yeah. Anyways.
So the game.
I immediately went out to buy it. It was such a blast.
Do you have it?
I do have it.
I was just going to say the same thing.
I didn't realize you bought it.
Yeah, it's on my shelf. If you,
Are you sure?
Yeah. I'm
going to find something on
As
my
we're all
shelf.
turning around to look at the shelf.
Anyways.
It's there. I believe you.
Okay, we're gonna cut this part out. But yes, I did. I went out and bought it, and I haven't even played my copy of it. And every time I look at it, I go, "Oh yeah, Jamaica!" And then something else catches my eye, and I immediately go to it. But it's a fun game. If you've never played it, I suggest you give it a shot. Find someone who has it, or just go buy it. I mean, I did. I don't regret having it.
I played it once with you, and we played with the expansion, so I've never played it vanilla. But I really enjoyed it, but it fits that category of it's a pretty good game. And unfortunately, in our lives, there are lots of great games, and just a pretty good game sometimes just doesn't make it to the table.
Yeah, and that's why I think if they came out with just a little bit more, kind of gave it a little bit more attention to kind of elevate it above those things, because you're right. I'll look at it now it's a situational game. It's okay, do we have 6 or 7 people? Okay, well, we can maybe bust out Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have someone that's more on the lighter side of gaming? Okay, let's go ahead and play Jamaica. That's a relatively quick, pretty simple game. But yeah, you're right. Usually when it's our group, that typically is not going to hit the table very much.
We're also Cult of the New. So since we've already played that at least once, we want to play the next game.
Yeah, I did look it up. Miniature Market has it for $48. The expansion is out of stock, but $22. So if that's a game that sounds interesting to you,
Jamaica.
Show it a little bit of love, people. So my game, never heard of this game. I got it in a trade. I love post-apocalyptic games. This one is called Armageddon by Queen Games. I've never seen anybody else with it. I've never even seen anybody else go, "Oh, I've played that before." So I've taken it to several meetups all over Austin, and every time I pull it up, people are like, "Never heard of that game."
Did I play that with you? Or?
I think you've both played it with me, and that's what I'm saying. You guys don't even remember it, but it's a multi-leveled. So it starts off with a bag full of meeples, and there's red meeples, green meeples, and blue meeples.
Yeah, I remember this
and then you're bidding your people to get resources. So at the very top, there's a deck of cards, and you're bidding to be the first person to pick a card. But the card comes with more people. So, and then there's red marauders that could be on the card that are bad. But when you take the card, it's a set collecting, and you're trying to get a lot of the same cards. Then the next level is you're building things in your little fort or in your base. Mm-hmm. So you're bidding to be the first person to take a tile, and on the tile there's like a good or bad bonus that you have to take along with it, and it's a extra building that you have in your little compound.
Yeah.
And then at the very bottom, the last ones you bid are the actual workers you place in your compound to do different jobs.
Yeah, I remember I knew I'd played this game and I couldn't quite place it in my memory until you were talking about it. And I do remember the game being a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. What I really like about it, though, is that when you're bidding, the winner gets a bonus, but the person to bid the least gets a punishment. So not only are you last, you also get a punishment. So it really encourages people to think about their bids. You're really sitting there going, man, I really want these 3 workers to go over here and do this job for me, but I don't want to take that negative, and I can outbid Sean here, but I'm not going to be able to bid over there. So it has a lot of those tough choices that I really like in games. And it's really surprising, especially from a Queen game, which are very hit and miss. This one is definitely a big hit. Mm-hmm. In my book.
Queen games can go one way or the other pretty much. Mm-hmm. There's some Queen games that are just fantastic, great games, and some that are like, what was that called again?
Armageddon, clearly.
Which is weird, but it's such a great game.
Not available on Miniature Market.
It might even be out of print.
It might be. I'm only checking Miniature Market. I'm not doing very many other places.
No, that was a good one.
It's called Armageddon from the ground up.
Yeah, and I remember that because I remember specifically there were plenty of times where, like you said, there was 3 or 4 more waters on a card, and I was like
do I bid? Do I bid a lot? Do I hold back?
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, I know I'm probably gonna regret this later, but that's it. I'm gonna eat it.
And then there's if I take this card, I'm gonna have to take these 4 extra mouths to feed, because if you don't have enough shelter for your people, you have to kick them out of your compound, and every time you kick people out of your compound, you lose points. So it's a game where on one round you'll gain 18 points and then lose 10.
Yeah,
it's a great game.
Yeah, no, that was a good one. I was almost kind of like thinking of it like a better version of 51st State. Like 51st State is kind of similar. You're building out your compound. You're like trying to draft and take cards, but you have to have a certain number of resources for each thing to do, and that just is, to me, just 51st State, but way better. And I like 51st State, so that's
really
something.
does.
So the first game on my list, I was while I was setting up, I was watching one of the Dice Tower top 10 videos, and they were doing top 10 games they want to see reprinted. And I was like, hey, that's kind of what we're doing, but not really. But someone mentioned Tobago. Tobago is an excellent game, and I can agree with everything all 3 of the people on the Dice Tower said. Is we just want a straight reprint. We don't need expansion. We don't need streamlined rules. We just want this game available. And I can't agree more that this is a great game. I introduced it to
all of us.
I don't think Sean was there, but you, Eric, and Scott for sure. We were at BGG in Austin, Dallas, I mean, and I saw it in the library. I was like, hey, y'all want to play this? And no one had heard of it. I was like, all right, we're playing this one. So I put it on the table. I think Scott bought it at the table. Like, he opened up Amazon DE, Germany's Amazon. You bought it eventually, and Scott,
I had it.
Or Sean,
Eric
bought it.
I had a friend in Italy bring it to me because I couldn't find it anywhere here in United States. Mm-hmm. So if you look at my rule book, there's no English words in it.
No.
It's all in Italian.
It's all Italian.
But you can still understand it because there's no actual language in the game.
Well, the cards are all just icons.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll need the rule book to figure out what that icon means occasionally, but not often. But it's a very simple game. There's 3 boards, and they're double-sided, and they create an island. So depending on which direction you put and which A side or B side you put on the map, the island's different every single time. And the theme of it is you're treasure hunters on an island looking for the treasure. And there are 1 treasure per player, so it plays up to 4 people. There might be 4 treasures. And you have a hand of cards that are hints or clues or rumors about where the treasure might be. And so, like, it's in the biggest forest. So you know that the treasure is in one of these 12 spots. And then someone else might say, oh, well, it's next to a river. So that takes away some of the spots from there. So there's only like 4 or 5 spots left. But it's next to a hut. So then we know that it's in the largest forest next to a river under a hut. So we know exactly where the treasure is. So one of the Jeeps can drive over to it pick it up.
So that's a mechanic I really enjoy about the game, where it's the players playing the clues, narrowing down where the treasure is. I have not seen any other game that comes with anything close to that.
Is that
it's
is
usually
this the one with the temples?
No.
What was because we played something similar where like you.
I'm thinking about Karuba, where
like you have to figure out like is it a square staircase or is it a circle staircase?
No, that's the one
Scott's
Pirates.
games.
Yeah, that's one of Scott's Pirates games.
Oh, okay.
No, this is completely unique. I will slightly disagree with you.
Here, that's the box.
That
As you heard it.
I do think it needs an upgrade where the push your luck mechanic of drawing the treasures is more detrimental to the game, because there's only 2 curses in the whole game, and once they come out, you're done. You don't have to worry about it anymore.
And they're put at the bottom of the deck anyway. So the first 3 or 4 treasures you find, you're not even worried about the curse. But after every curse, one of the mechanics of the game is there's 3 Moa statues, and each of them spits out an amulet close to the beach. So you can use your turn to pick up these amulets. They give you special powers and stuff. But if a curse comes out, it's going to do one of 2 things. One, it's going to take away your amulet, which is protecting you from the curse. Or it's going to take one of your highest treasures. And the treasures only go from 2 to 6. So losing 6 points, it can be a lot of points. So you got to be careful of the... But you're right, the push your luck on it, because once you know there's a curse there... But I think the game does really, really well on its own.
Yes, it's a great game. Like I said, I had it flown into me from Italy. That's how much I enjoyed the game. But if they do happen to do a reprint, I would say add an optional module with like 5 curses, and each curse does something different, or something to liven something to liven it up. Just one more degree.
Yeah, I haven't played this one.
We need to play it. It's a great game. I can't believe you haven't played with Eric. He plays it a lot.
I don't know, for some reason, like, I don't know. I'm sure he's brought it up. It just, like, it's, like, I know the name. Like, it's not like I'm like, oh, what's Tobago? Like, I know I've heard that name dozens of times. I don't know. But just never got around to playing it.
Definitely a really good game that flew under the radar and needs to come back out for people to buy.
So the next one I had on my list was it's a war game from. I mean, this is an older game too. So it's at the time it was really big. I'm pretty sure at least. But I don't think a lot of people talk about it anymore. It's an old Avalon Hill game, Nexus Ops, which is basically like it's basically a little war game like in a box. You know, everyone gets your little pieces, and everyone has the same stuff. You know, all the factions are the same. It's just the colors, and really no differences there. But you're just fighting over a very small area map for resources, trying to like do little missions and gain points, and just to kind of, you know, I think it's like 10 or 11 points.
Is this the one with the tower in the middle of it?
Yeah, this is the one with the tower in the middle of it. So if you control that tower in the center, you know, you get, you know, some really big benefit. Honestly, I don't remember what it was. I think you should get to draw. It was like
extra cards
or something like that. But those are like the really good cards that you get to draw. So a lot of people will fight over that. Combat in it, super simple. You know, your turn is basically you mine resources, you spend, you know, money to recruit people, you know, and the better units obviously are more and more expensive. And then you put them on the board. They start at your home base, and you just start to spread and fan out, fight each other for, you know, area control, for resources, trying to complete certain missions that are cards in your hand. Mm-hmm. And then first one's, I think, 10 points wins the game.
See, what I like about the design of that game is the fact that it's the area control isn't the main aspect of it, it's the mission cards. So kind of like Champions of Midgard, where I always say, don't fall in love with your guys, they're going to die. Same thing with this game. You're going to send out your troops, they're going to die, it's okay, because you're going to gain 20 resources next turn and buy like 8 more of those.
Yeah.
So, like you said, the combat is quick, fast, simple. You send your guys out to die, gain whatever bonuses you can right then and there.
Start back over.
And start back over. So combat isn't detrimental. For example, a game like Risk, where I have 20 units on one...
And I can't let them die.
They have names and families, and I need a turtle for an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the way... I mean, you could get a little hosed, like, if you kind of lose some of the territories that have, like, the mines in them. And because that's the resource that you use. But your 3 home tiles have mines in them too. So, I don't know if you can enter them. I don't think you can.
But it's just again, you'll get them back, and it's all based on the missions. So you might not need that turn to complete your mission, or you might need to be over here. So like I said, it's
yeah, like the missions vary from like, win a battle in a crystal forest or have control of 3 volcano tiles or something.
So you can have 3 of the weakest guys standing on swamps and get your points, and people will ignore you because they're 3 little weak guys controlling different areas.
And then you just drop a card on the table. Haha, I got a point. And the game itself, like I think you can only play 1 per turn. So it's not like in 1 turn you can just try to drop 6 cards and now the game is 60% over at that point in 1 shot. So it paces itself, but it still doesn't last more than an hour.
Yeah, it's not a very long game.
Yeah, combat is real super simple. It's you roll a die.
Either you hit or you
either hit or you miss. The better the unit, the more likely you ought to hit it. Like I think the most powerful unit hits on I think a 5 or less.
Yeah.
So basically, it's just a 1 out of 6 chance that you're going to miss, and the defender picks who dies.
Spray and pray.
And if you get this game, try to get the older version like you have with the glow in the dark minis.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think I realized that.
There you go. Glow in the dark minis.
Right, you had me at glow in the dark minis.
And to my knowledge, I don't think there's ever been an expansion for it. I just think it's its own standalone thing, and there's never been an expansion or anything.
So Miniature Market says it's not available. Also, Tobago, not available. And Alex's next one, not available in Miniature Market. So these do need a lot more love.
Yeah, no, Nexus Op is great. Like, I would love to see, like, even if you just introduced different mission cards or just different tiles, because the tiles are always the same. They may be in a different layout, but for the most part, the tiles are always the same. But if you came out with different ones that you draft or, whatever the case is, then, just something, because that game has never received any kind of love, and it's a great game.
I think the problem there is the Avalon Hill. I think they got bought out, and there's rights problems, because a lot of their older games didn't get reprinted or anything like that.
Yeah. This one did. I think it was, if you could look at it, I think Fantasy Flight reprinted this, and
that's what I'm saying. I think there was a rights issue or something.
Yeah. Even if Fantasy Flight is the one that comes out with the upgrade. I mean, if they have the rights to it at this point, I mean, somebody's got the rights to it because it got reprinted. And I know they added, like, instead of now, there's 2 different center tiles. There's the tower, but then there was also a vortex in the new version. But for the most part, it's still the same exact game. Yeah.
Well, the next game on my list is a game that I talk about a lot. I'm sure you've heard me say it, one of my favorite games by Come On, The Godfather. It's such a good game. The basic description of it would be area control worker placement, which is two concepts that I really don't see very much mixed together. So it's by Eric Lang, which, yes, I am, I guess, a fanboy of him, but it's you place your units on the board. You're trying to control New York. As you're playing the game, you're getting resources to complete missions. You could murder each other, which in my book always gives a extra point to the game. When you murder people, you throw them into the Hudson River to swim with the fishes. You only play 4 rounds, but it's one of those games where every decision you make is so crucial. It's so important. Because do I go for the area control? Do I go for more missions? Do I kill
everybody else?
Do I go to murder everybody else? And when I murder people, who am I going to murder? Do I murder the person who murdered me, or am I going to murder the other person?
And are they going to murder me back?
And are they going to murder you back? It's a brutal game, incredibly fun, and what blows my mind, this is the part where, I mean, such a great game. People were buying it for like $10 at Colt.
Yeah, it was way overproduced, way under publicized, and I think they just had a stock that wasn't moving, because you paid $50 when it was new.
I paid like $40 for it, yeah.
And then worth every penny of that.
I don't regret it. I mean, it comes with little metal suitcases that are actually part of the game. Mm-hmm. The bad things about it, I will say, the art on it is really bad, because all the cards have the exact same picture. All of them have the Godfather holding the cat.
Cigar.
Yeah. So the art is kind of bad. The map is a very basic, colorful version of New York. but the gameplay is where it's at. It comes with little minis that are fabulous, and if you actually look up painted Godfather minis, they look really cool. Some people pinstripe the suits and make them look all fancy. I wish I had that kind of talent, fancy, but I definitely can't paint them that well. The money is cards, the resources are cards, so there's not a lot of room for upgrades in the game. I have talked to you about an idea that I would pitch come on if they ever asked me about reprinting that game, but it's such a great game. You can't find it, but if you do, sit down and play it immediately. You're not going to regret it.
And if you happen to be in Kohl's and they still have one for $5-10, pick it up.
Yeah,
definitely worth your money.
It is totally. I remember playing when you said it. I was like, "Oh, The Godfather." I like The Godfather, and especially it takes place in New York, so right then and there, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna play that one."
Even though you're from Jersey,
I'm not from Jersey. You know what?
Sounds like he's from Jersey.
It sounds like he's from Jersey.
But also, I grew up in Staten Island. So Staten Island, for those of you who don't know,
Staten Island, Jersey.
Staten Island, New York. 65 to 70% of Staten Island is Italian, and the other 30% like to think that they're Italian. So, The Godfather, everybody's like, "Oh, you never saw The Godfather? What's the matter with you? Are you serious?" So, yeah, so that's one of those things that everybody, and their mother has seen, and multiple times, and quotes every day, and is like a part of life. So, yeah, to me, that was really cool. I like the briefcase thing, too. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, the briefcase where...
stuff your money away.
Yeah, and only the money in your briefcase is worth points. So you can have all this money in your hands, but if you don't suitcase it, you have no points. And I love the feeling of the first round, your suitcase is really light. The second round, your suitcase is really loud. By the third and fourth round, your suitcase is nice and heavy, and you're like, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah, now I'm only hoping they come out with like the other ones. They come out with a Goodfellas board game, a casino board game, and one from Bronx Tale. And just to kind of create the whole family of Mafia board games. It's not going to happen.
There's one called Mafia.
But just the...
I don't know.
It's just called Mafia. Yeah.
It's just called Mafia?
I think so.
It's a card game, isn't it? That sounds familiar.
I don't think I've ever played it. I've seen it.
Yeah, no, I feel like I played that one.
I don't know.
My next one's from Game Salute. It's called King's Forge. I ended up picking up the second Kickstarter, or the expansion, this first expansion, which was their second Kickstarter, so I bought the base game and first expansion. And then the other expansions after that. I'm waiting for the last expansion. It's the Masterworks. It's the big box to hold everything with the last expansion. But it's a lot of fun. It's a super simple game. It's two very distinct phases. First phase is you're trying to get more dice in your pool, and the dice represent wood and glass and stone and gold, and there's some magic dice. So you're drafting cards, and when you draft the cards, they're going to do one of two things: either give you more dice or allow you to use the dice in a specific way during the next phase. The second phase is actually forging things for the king. So the theme of it is forging items for the king to get the most favor for the king. You're going to roll the dice, and each item has specific numbers of specific dice. So you need like a 6 in wood or 5 in glass. And as you're rolling the dice and manipulating with the cards that you've drafted, you're able to craft these things for the king. Each expansion has added like apprentices, and they've added different materials that work different ways. Like the glass can be a wild resource, but it breaks once you use it, so everything else is reusable, and you get to keep using it each round. But King's Forge is a game that I've really enjoyed playing, and most of the people I've played with really enjoy it as well. It's just one that I think flew under the radar, and I've not seen on very many people's shelves and being played.
I will say that this game is like in your wheelhouse, though. Lots of dice, lots of different colored dice, lots of rolling dice. It has your name written on it.
It's a fun game.
Yeah, so does my next game, actually, when we get to that one. My next game is definitely a Michael game.
A dice rolling game? It's on my shelf, too, yeah.
Yeah. But no, I played King's Forge with you. Oh, God, it was a while ago. Like, like you explaining it, I'm remembering. Oh, yeah, I did play that. But, like, I completely forgot that game existed after that, because I hadn't played it since. But I remember I remember playing it and being like, all right, this is pretty cool. I like this game.
It was one of the first games I played with you.
Yeah.
Before we were friends.
Before we were friends?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Before? Oh, now look at you two.
All right, so what's your next one?
So my next one, while we're on the subject of dice rollers, is Favor of the Pharaohs.
So how many dice do you have for this game?
You know what? So for those of you who have not played Favor of the Pharaohs, or maybe you have played, or you're thinking about buying it, get the extra dice set. I do not have the extra dice set, which is a fact that Michael likes to rub in my face.
I mean, don't share dice if you don't have to.
You always get the extra dice.
I didn't even know that that you could get an extra dice set for Figure 5. I didn't think I bought it in the store. So, like, I don't think I even knew, like, I should get an extra dice set. But yes, get the extra dice set.
If you go to Busier Games website, they have the dice pack on their website.
Oh, do they really? All right, I might actually order that then. But yeah, so with Favor of the Pharaoh, when you talk about dice chuckers, it is just the purest form of a dice chucker. You get these resources, you get these, like, tiles that may or may not, give you more dice. Your turn is you roll the dice, all of them, and then you pick one, put it in your little pyramid, and then pick up the rest. And you just keep rolling until you build up some kind of set based on the criteria on the board. Like one thing might say, oh, you need to have a total of 50 or more on your dice.
Or full house.
Yeah,
or
full house.
Two sets of 3.
Yeah, or 7 of a kind or something like that.
6 run straight.
Yeah, 6 runs. So, like, and then when you say, like, oh, I now have made my 6 run straight, I'm going to take this tile, which then gives you another ability and 2 more dice, and you just keep going until eventually, I think, what's the final one? It's 9 of a kind?
I believe it's, I want to say 8 of a kind to get the queen. To get the queen tile, and then it's a roll off after that. So I believe it's 8 of a kind, and then once you get 8 of a kind, the person next to you gets to try to steal the queen from you, and everyone at the tables tries to steal it, and then you get one final roll if someone stole it from you to try to get it back.
Yeah, and then whoever has the queen at the end wins the Favor of the Pharaoh and thus wins the game. Now, this is another one that, to my knowledge, and Michael, I don't know if you know this, but I don't think there's ever been an expansion for this.
I don't believe so either.
And it's one of those things that super simple, like just another set of tiles.
The replayability on the game is really good, though, because each it starts out very basic with 3 dice and gets up to, I think, 7 dice. And each row of 3 dice has several different options that can go in it. So every I think there's 5 or 6 different levels as you get more and more dice, and they all have different amounts of tiles that can be put in there. So you'll never play the same game twice, because even if you play with the same tiles, the criteria changes. And so on the first row, instead of getting a pair, it might be get all evens. So the game does change each time you play. So the variability in that game does go up.
Yeah, so in essence, it definitely does have a lot of variability, but it's one of those things now where it's been out for long enough that, when you play it and when you hit the table, you already know, okay, out of what all these things do, what's the first thing that I'm going for? Okay, I know that's a really good one. I know that's a really good one. That's what I'm going to go for first. So, yes, there's variability, but, like, once you've played it a handful of times and it's been out long enough that I've probably played it dozens of times, I know what all the tiles do, and I kind of just, I'm just running on autopilot at this point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's
expansion with new sets of cards, maybe a new type of dice, because there's lots of different styles of dice, and each in the theme of the game, you can pick up a worker, and the worker is just a red die that's just a regular d6, or you can pick up a priest, but the priest is a different colored die that has a special effect if you roll it a certain way. And there's some dice that have 1s, 2s, and 3s, but no 4, 5s, and 6s, and then some dice that have 2 6s but no 1. So there are lots of different unique dice in that, custom dice in that game.
Yeah, so I think just something super simple, an extra set of tiles, one new type of die, breathe new life back into the game.
So the next game on my list is from a small unknown company. Maybe you've heard of it, Fantasy Flight.
It's a small indie company, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
they don't have very many games.
But they have a game called Battle for Rokugan. It's in the Legends of the Five Rings universe. I remember we were at Nerdstock when that used to be open, and I'm a big fan of Legends of the Five Rings since the original card game. What I really like is it had a very rich storyline with, again, the very thematic, all the different clans fighting for power. I saw this little white box. It's a tiny little box. Battle for Rokugan.
Does not fit the Lone Star Meeple Calyx standard.
It does not fit the Lone Star Meeple. It does not fit the Fantasy Flight either. I mean, they usually make big boxes for a lot of shelf space. But this little box, and it wasn't even that expensive. I think I picked it up for $30.
Mm-hmm.
It was on sale, and it's pretty heavy. Has a lot of little cardboard pieces, and I was very pleasantly surprised at what a good game it is. And I don't see why it doesn't hit the table more often. So in the game, you have all these little teardrop chits with different units on them, and you have the board, and you have a specific clan, and each clan has its own powers and slightly different armies. There's 3 different types of armies, and each turn you draw 6 armies from a bag, and you decide where to place them on the board. That's the whole game. You place them face down, where the teardrop points, so you can place them on the border, and you're either attacking, or if you place it in the middle, you're defending. What I love about that game is you start playing, and you're not actually playing the game, you're playing the player. So when I see Michael put a chit down, I'm thinking, does he really want that? Or is he trying to distract me from his real objective, which later on he's going to play somewhere else? And then one of the chits that's always available to you is the bluff token. So when you put that down...
Is he bluffing?
Is he bluffing?
Is it just blank on the other side?
Is he just wanting me to waste my resources? Or should I go all out and fight him on that battle? And the board shifts so much turn to turn, and that's okay. Again, it's one of those games where you're not really worried about the unit that's going to die. That's okay. You're worried about completing your objectives.
Yeah,
So
the map looks very Risk-esque. Like if you imagined Asia on Risk is what this map looks like. And you're going from one territory to another, but each territory is divided up in different states, I guess.
clans. By the different clans.
Each clan has 3 or 4 different territories, and owning one of those territories is a goal for the end of the game. So I might really, really want to control the dragon territory, but I don't really want to do it too early. I want to wait and just kind of hang out there, and at the end of the game, take it all over.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember him not being very good at it for some reason, but like I do remember enjoying that game. And
Yeah,
I think with your copy too, if I'm not mistaken, one of the armies has like an extra special power that like some of the chits are like kind of marked in a special way.
That's right. Someone was eating a hamburger and greased up one of my chits.
Sounds like a jerk. I don't know why you would ever play a game with that person again.
And
Did Fantasy Flight send new chips out? I thought they did.
No. But
Oh.
I would, if anybody out there from Etsy is listening, get at me. I would pay for acrylic
Burger token guy.
or burger token guy. Acrylic or burger token versions of these.
They're teardrops. I don't know if Burger Token would work, because Burger Token, we talked about them being able to fit on a penny.
Yes, but you could still make it a circle and just have the artwork inside of it.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can make it work, but if someone on Etsy or Burger Token is listening and you can make me some nice acrylic versions of these, I would gladly pay you on Tuesday for a hamburger today.
Oh, don't say hamburger. That's a sore point for this game.
Oh.
It was that guy.
It wasn't me.
I'm not gonna say who it was, but he's the green meeple.
Okay, one piece has a little tiny smudge on it. Unfortunately, it's a bluff token.
It's the bluff token that you can use every
it's the bluff
time.
token
Yeah.
that always comes out.
But yeah, so what I really love about that game, like I said, you're not actually playing the game, you're playing the people at the table. Okay. And you have to learn to read them, and the first round realize, are they going strong for war? Are they playing? And then there's like tokens that can just burn a whole area up. You know what?
This place is gone.
I am done with this area. I'm just gonna scorch it. No one gets the points. It's such a quick, easy. I think the game lasts at max players an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's not a super long game, and it plays quick, and you're focused the entire time. Even when it's not your turn, you're paying attention to what everyone else is putting down, because I'm going for this territory, but I'm seeing 2 other people also going for it. So do I start investing into it, or just lay off and throw another bluff token down there so they just think I am? And
or do I, go around
pivot
this
and
way?
do something else.
And this is a game that could also, since Legends of the Five Rings has such rich history and such a rich storyline, they could easily make more expansions for this game.
Yeah.
I think this game needs a lot more love.
So My last one is a Tiny Epic game. So Tiny Epic has come out with 7 or 8 different games, but one of my favorites is Tiny Epic Western. And I don't hear a lot of people ever suggesting to play Tiny Epic Western. It's usually Tiny Epic Galaxies, Tiny Epic Quest. Those are 2 very good games, but my favorite is Tiny Epic Western. It's a worker placement game, and it's you have 6 different areas around that you can put your workers. And you have a posse of 3 workers, and you're working on putting them out there in little cowboy meeples. And if I put mine here, someone else can try to fight me for that spot. We'll do a little duel, and they have cool little bullet dice. And then after everyone's put their meeples out, we're going to play there's a bad guy character in it. You're going to play the game in a 3-card hand of 3-card poker. And so you see what he has. In between each of the buildings are 2 cards, and you have 1 card in your hand. So you're gonna play your 1 card and compare it to what the bad guy has. It might be a straight, might be a flush or something like that, or just a pair, or a 3 of a kind. And if you win, you're gonna get some rewards, and if he wins, you're not gonna get the rewards. Or if there are 2 people there, you're gonna fight against each other. Whoever wins gets the rewards. And then there's a buying phase. The buying phase is where it gets tricky in the game. And the game is finicky and it's fiddly, and that's one thing that a lot of people don't like about it. Because as you're buying the cards, you're going to tuck them into an ever-growing stack of buildings that you're acquiring for end-game scoring. But it needs to be the first one, but it needs to be tucked under the porch of a player board. So you have to slide everything out, tuck it in. It makes it a little awkward. But as you're buying those buildings to give you in-game points, it becomes a new place for people to go. So the first round, you have 4 very basic places to go. But as the game progresses, everybody's porch is growing, and there's different places to play on each porch. And those places are going to change each turn. So it's like, okay, I want to go to the green porch because it has one, I can use this resource to get 2 of those resources or something like that. But then that player buys a new card and tucks a new one under there, and now it's something that's completely useless to me, so it's not a spot I want to go to again. But Tiny Epic Western is one of my favorite of the Tiny Epic series. And it's just
a hard time with the Tiny Epic series. Like, I don't know why. Like, I played a few of them. I think the only one I really kind of was like, that was cool, was Tiny Epic Quest.
I did paint all the little weapons for that one recently, and those look really good.
Quest. Galaxy drives me up the wall. I can't.
Galaxy's, a lot of people say it's their favorite. Quest is easily top up there. But a lot of their games, I've discovered, are 80% a really good game. It's 80% there. And, if they added 1 or 2 little things to the game, it would be a great game. And I do appreciate the small box, but it's not a selling point for me. I really don't care that it comes in a tiny box. It could be, instead of playing cards out, give me a board, and it would feel the same to me. But each of the games feels like it just needs a little nudge to get just a little bit there to be a good game. But again, Quest and Tiny Epic Galaxies. Tiny Epic Galaxies has an expansion. Both of those are great games, but my top one is Tiny Epic Western. Maybe it might be the bullet dice. I don't know. Those are really fun to roll.
The theme in it is also... I love Western-themed games, so the theme in it is really great. The poker aspect of it I really like. It's
the game that you play Pai Gow as like your way of battling against somebody else. Play a hand of Pai Gow poker.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely needs more love. It's hardly every time someone says, "What's the best Tiny Epic?" Galaxies. Everyone just yells out Galaxies.
I don't know. I've played Galaxies 3 times, and every time it was a miserable experience. It just it's so long and just. Ugh. And then there was one point, I don't even remember which cards they were, but these 2 cards are on the table. These 2 cards came out that just got us stuck like in this endless loop. Like, I don't remember what they were, but that's why I was just like, at that point I was like, I'm so mentally checked out of this game. At this point, this has been going on for over almost 2 hours. Like, this is not a game that I want to be playing for 2 hours. After an hour, I'm done. I can't do these games for more than an hour and 15 minutes.
Well, those are 9 games that we feel have been undersold or just not got enough love they need to, flew under the radar, came out at the wrong time, something similar to that. But there's 9 games that we think that you will enjoy. Couple things that I want to say before we go is there's someone that's on the board game Facebook pages. Her name's Katia, Katia. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. But she has a Facebook group called the Board Game Art Creations. And she's doing art with the board game components.
They look so nice.
They're amazing. She's doing pictures from games. She's doing logos of companies. And she just takes the components from the games and creates mosaics with them. She uses like shades of blue to create water. So like darker on the bottom to light blue at the top. And she's done a couple with some fire components. And so she uses the reds to the orange to the yellows. She's able to put a 3D aspect on it to like a castle looks like it has a waving flag, even though all the components are flat on the table. But Board Game Art Creations, go check it out. And I think she's going to have a Kickstarter coming up next month to do a calendar. So I will probably mention it again and put a little plug in just because I'm probably going to back it for the calendar.
Yeah, and another thing that we happen to be doing this month or last month is we did our first rules videos for a new game called Roll and Cook. So...
No, I'm saying I saw that on YouTube. Like I was checking our YouTube page and I was like, oh, let's see what's going on the YouTube page. And I'm like, when did that video go up there? Because I'm usually the one that uploads the stuff to YouTube.
Right. So we got into contact with someone on the Facebook page.
He emailed us. Yeah.
Yeah. And we got together. It's a print and play, roll and write game that you can play solo. You can play with friends over the internet because it's not a lot of pieces. You need one page, a couple dice, roll and keep going. So we did the video for it. It was our first video. It's a little rough, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But
I think it turned out well though.
I think we worked on it, and it was a lot of fun to do that. So that's something else we might be looking into the future. If you have a game, you want a rules video done on it, send us an email at lonestarmeeple@gmail.com, and we can definitely talk about working something out.
Okay. Don't forget to check us on the Instagrams at the Lone Star Meeple or Twitter at the Lone Star Meeple.
Make sure to follow and like our Facebook page, the Lone Star Meeple. And speaking of following and liking our page, if you do, there could be a prize in it for you. We have a copy of A War of Whispers that we're giving away. Kind of hard game to get your hands on. So we're holding a contest to see who likes our page the hardest.
Likes our page the hardest. Yeah, I like it. No, so what you do is you just go ahead and check us out on Facebook at the Lone Star Meeple. Just go ahead, like Alex said, like the page, share it with your friends, and hashtag Lone Star Meeple. And we are going to pick a winner in a couple of weeks from there. And congratulations, you won yourself a game that is hard to come by, courtesy of the Lone Star Meeple.
And a sticker.
And a
Lone Star Meeple sticker.
Yeah, we got stickers in the mail.
No, that's right. So music for the Lone Star Meeple was provided by Hugo Delgado. And like we said, like, share us with your friends, tell people about us. That's what that is, This way everybody can enjoy the majesty that is the Lone Star Meeple. Feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, leave us a comment, and tell us what you think and what you'd like to hear.
Any future topics you'd like us to talk about.
Mm-hmm. What do you want to hear from us? Ask us questions. Maybe we'll answer them.
Yeah, we should do a Q&A.
Yeah, we should. Huh? Well, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
That Q&A would be a lot of fun.
I like doing that. Have people say questions and we answer questions.
Yeah.
That'll work.